Hi, full disclosure, this is the intro before the intro because the video clips you're about to see have been sitting in my camera roll for like 4 years. So much has been happening in my life. Since I've recorded these video clips, I've moved 1,000 times. I have very different people in my life. It's really hard to find a balance in life with like working all the time, making time for your hobbies, doing all the household chores. There's so much to do and like, I can't do this as often as I used to, and I really miss it. I really want to try to get back into it, so I figured let me at least start by finishing editing this thing that I started forever ago. And I'm going to try just trimming little things that have been making all this process harder for myself. Hope you enjoyed this video, but just keep in mind so much has changed, and if I want to continue making videos like this, I might have to trim out some of the extra stuff that used to just make my life a little bit harder. You get the gist. I love you. I miss you. Let's roll the real intro. I'm recording this in May of 2021. This is the month I participate in the Mermaid Challenge. If you follow me on Instagram or really any social media, you know that drawing mermaids is kind of my thing. There's just something fantastical about them. There's so many different kinds of fish to base them off of. Sea life is just magical on its own in real life. And you don't have to draw feet. It's a win for everybody. Today I'm going to combine the Mermaid Challenge with the Draw This in Your Style Challenge. I follow a lot of lovely artists on Instagram to get inspiration, and a lot of artists on Instagram are also doing the Mermaid Challenge. There are specifically 2 artists on Instagram who I follow who posted a Draw This in Your Style challenge. I already see so much potential for me to recreate these. The 2 artists whose art I'm going to be recreating are Felice.xu, I think I pronounced that right, and Maddie_arts. Both illustrations are of beautiful girls, which are always fun to draw, and they both have this fantastical, mythical, magical air to them. So if you want to see how I transform these beautiful drawings into my own Zulzy style, let's get started. The first drawing I'm doing is from Maddie Arts. If you take a look at this picture, you can see that it's already kind of similar to my style. What I like to do with faces is give people large eyes, a small nose, and use a lot of vibrant colors. Maddie Arts obviously has that same style going on for her. I love her style so much. I'm excited to take her character and make it my own. Before I get into anything, I'm going to put a piece of scrap paper behind this because this is a sketchbook with some thinnish paper. I don't want things to get warped. I actually have done a drawing very similar to this in the past, actually just last year, but this is going to be a completely different color scheme. I'm grabbing a compass. Since she is the star of the show here, we're going to start by sketching out her face. And then I have the chin coming off of that, and her nose would be somewhere in that area. So I'm just being very vague right now. Nothing's going to get a lot of detail. To kind of help me with hands here, I did take a selfie in the bathroom. I took this picture like literally 5 minutes ago. Now we get to have fun with some hair. It's always actually made a lot of sense to me for a mermaid to have long hair because do they have scissors underwater? I don't know. I've always found it such a challenge to come up with like creative things for a mermaid to be wearing because they're not exactly human, so you'd think that they're kind of like out in the wild. Underwater, you probably have to be more resourceful. You're probably very limited as far as materials go. What are you allowed to wear underwater that won't just disintegrate? So I feel like most of the time when I draw mermaids, I give them some sort of like tough armor. Hello? Hi. Something that would be of a hard material that wouldn't just completely disintegrate in water. Something that will stand the elements. I can tell that Maddie Arts does most of her work digitally. What I love to see about digital work is she's still able to use these cool brushes that maintain kind of a rough texture. I don't know what kind of brushes she uses, but girl does a good job. So I'm not sure what the original storyline of this girl was, but I'm seeing a lotus flower, I'm seeing lily pads, and the flowers in her hair that are not the lotus flower, for some reason I'm thinking look like cherry blossoms. So in my head, this mermaid is living off of some body of water in Japan, influenced by Japanese culture. So I don't know if that means that she's Japanese or if that means she has an appreciation for Japanese culture. But either way, I love it. She still reminds me of the Japanese girl that I made. Alright, so I've erased a basic outline of what I've done here. We're going to start to see it get really different from Maddie's drawing once I start getting into the coloring and the details. We already know that our friend here is going to have some sort of pink hair, which is exactly why I'm going in with this pink liner. By the way, if you see someone behind me, it's probably just me. in my own reflection. God, I sure hope it is. I was just talking about how I like to be creative with my attire when drawing mermaids or fantastical creatures like that. I was talking about the durability of the material that they must need to use if they're underwater, but what I'm seeing Maddie did makes me think of another good point, the resourcefulness. If you live in the wild, you can only wear what's available to you, and it looks like this character's wearing some sort of leafy bralette type thing. But a choice that I'm gonna make, I'm gonna use the same color as the lotus flower in her hair, which she kind of made a purple. So I'm gonna change that green bust to a purple color. One of my favorite things about being an illustrator is coming up with creative stories and then telling those stories through one visual. When participating in a Draw This in Your Style challenge, you don't really get the opportunity to illustrate your own story. You're bringing someone else's vision to life. So they've already told their story, you're just retelling their story. Redrawing and reimagining someone else's illustration forces you to think in a way that they were thinking. Let me tell you what I mean by that. When you're looking at someone's artwork, whether you're an artist or not, maybe you're scrolling through Instagram, maybe you're at a museum, maybe you're supporting one of your artist friends, there's no time limit to how long you're supposed to be looking at that drawing. So a lot of people, especially non-artists, will only spend a few seconds looking at something that someone took several hours to create. But drawing something else that already exists forces you to take a longer look, a more in-depth look, and kind of mentally break down several more decisions that you find that artist made when they originally created this piece. And in doing so, you get to kind of see some decisions made that you might not have made in your own original piece. And if you decide you like something that they did, it very well may inspire you and influence you to make those similar decisions next time you do go to create your own work. For example, one decision that Maddie made was to give this character purple eyes. Now that purple is also going to be seen in the lotus flower. It ties together very well. When I made my original girl here, I thought in my head, well, lotuses are usually pink. I must draw it pink. I didn't think to draw it purple, but I love that. I encourage you guys to try this challenge. Like, why not learn from someone else's art? I think you're building a lot of skills when you're drawing something that already exists. You need to have some sort of basic anatomy knowledge to draw a person's face, and only after you have that somewhat basic knowledge of how things are supposed to look, can you more successfully bend those rules in order to adapt it to your style. So by looking at other artists, you might be learning things about real life that artist already figured out, and you just helped teach yourself that by being inspired by them. So go ahead, teach yourselves about other artists and their methods, learn from them, because you might just learn some stuff about yourself along the way. I put some masking fluid on here so that I could draw freely and it'll still keep some spots of the paper pure white. So for almost all my illustrations, I use these Prismacolor brush tip markers. One of my favorite combos for people with pale skin are using this almond milk and then eggshell as a shadow. The original illustration doesn't have her ears showing, but to kind of capture my style, you guys know I like to do these swirls in the ears. And you guys know that I like to make the ears very pink. So that was a stylized choice. A lot of people are afraid to reference other artists or even reference other things because they feel like it's cheating. But to that I say, no matter how hard you even try to get something to be similar, it's gonna end up having your style on it whether you like it or not. Like, there's skills that you've learned that other artists haven't, and vice versa. And then before I move on to any other colors, I'm gonna take an even darker skin tone and just put like little details, nice little shadows. Sometimes I literally use 3 markers at the same time so that they blend together nicely. Another area where our styles cross over is the pinkness and the blush. So this is always so exciting to grab a pink color and start flushing out those cheeks. I like to put some on the fingers too. Adding pink to skin colors really brings it to life. This is literally blush pink. She's so cute. I don't have a whole lot of purples with my markers, so I'm gonna use this watercolor pad by Viviva color sheet. You guys are gonna find this so cool. I don't know why it looks green like this, but I guess it's because it's super concentrated. But look at that light purple color that it turns. I'm gonna use that same purple on the lotus flower. I think while I'm waiting for the purples to dry out, I'm gonna use this Viridian color for the background. This Viridian color is gonna look so good up against that pink hair. When painting eyes, one thing that I've noticed, I really enjoy having a higher saturation towards the top eyelid and a lower saturation as you go down to the bottom. You have less of a shadow being cast towards the bottom by your own eyelids. I love these purple eyes. Again, I'm just gonna put a little bit of a darkness grading at the top. Hey, my marker is dying. All right, she's dead. With this red hair and my decision to turn the bra purple, I'm just making Ariel. No, it'll be different. You'll see. I always love when artists invite you to do a draw this in your style challenge. I myself would love to see how something that I've created inspires someone else. I would love to see how little details that I've chosen translate in someone else's mind. If you are going to do a draw this in your style challenge, just make sure to always tag the artist that inspired you. I love this hair color. It's not exactly crimson Ariel red. Her color scheme might be a little bit similar to Ariel's, but she's a lot sexier than Ariel. I'm going to start rubbing off some of that masking fluid. I specifically kept it on there to remind myself where I wanted the shines in the hair to be. But now that I kind of know, I think I can go from here. What I love about the shines in her hair is like extra shiny. And I think that's really going to contribute to how wet she looks. I mean, she just came out of the water, of course. Video idea, tutorial on how to draw hair. But I'm using that same light green watercolor. Now, the last time I drew lily pads, I was really proud of how it turned out. So as this is a draw this in your style challenge, I'm going to go back and reference my own style because I was happy with it then. I'm still happy with it now. I hear you. I'm gonna have to call you back. I needed a little bit more contrast, so I got this raspberry color. I really want to push those dark tones. By the way, I did not forget about her eyebrows. I just had a technique. I like to use these colored liners, and sometimes it's just easier not to have to worry about it smudging when you drag a marker across a colored liner. My version of this mermaid looks like she's smirking because I have one eyebrow raised a little bit higher than the other. I love it. Same thing here, I didn't forget her eyelashes. I just kind of like to save them until a bit later for a cleaner line. All right, so she got a bit of a wing there. Oh, and I can give you a tip on drawing eyes. Our girl here is pulling her hair back like this, but her eyelashes are gonna be so long and front facing that I think it's totally okay to draw people's eyelashes not being covered up by their hair. If you look at eyelashes in real life, they don't all just face one way. They flare out in different directions. There's one. Our mermaid friend here really swam into an undersea Sephora and said, hey, do you guys have that waterproof mascara? I'm gonna need it. Maddie's mermaid has a blue tail, so I took this sky blue light marker. See, she can't be Ariel. Ariel has a green tail. All right, I'm gonna remove more of this masking fluid here. I particularly had put some masking fluid on her skin, like on the edges, to kind of protect certain areas, because I wanted those areas to show little spots where light would be hitting. All right, and I'm gonna grab a little bit of a light gray to put just in the top half of the whites of her eyes. We know she's got long lashes. They're bound to cast a shadow. And that's something you guys can do to make your eyeballs look more realistic. We do have shadows underneath our eyelids. I still haven't decided what color to make her nails. I'm somewhere between bringing in the blue into her nails or bringing in the green to her nails. Comment below which one you think I should do. Not that it's going to influence my opinion because I've already done this drawing, but maybe you were right. We'll see who was right. I did say I want to make the flowers in her hair look like cherry blossoms. Ooh. I'm once again going to use a marker to kind of interact with this background. It is a decent bit darker. Let's go over here and do the same thing. If you know anything about me, you know that I love to use a white gel pen to do some details. I'll clean up some lines. I'll make some highlights really pop. Or I might even get a Posca paint pen, do some little sparklies. I think she's almost done at this point. The last thing I'm gonna do is add tattoos, but before I get that far even, I'm gonna increase some boldness to the lines. Give more of that graphic effect. So I don't even know what kind of marker this is. I just had it. Alright, I'm just gonna do it. Her nails are gonna be blue. That green was very tempting, but I wanted to pull more of that blue color from her tail into the rest of the drawing because it's really nowhere else. And now for the grand finale, the tattoo. I'm going to reference this little koi fish that I did a few years ago. And let's do some more cherry blossoms. And another little fishy right here. I think we're done there. This is how she turned out. Let's see how she compares to the original done by Maddie. And now I'm going to move on to my second artist to redraw. So moving on to my next artist, Felice.xu. The picture we are presented is this girl that's underwater. She obviously has some sort of bubble helmet, and there are several glowing fish whizzing by her. So I don't know what the story behind her is, but I'm here for it. So I'm going to vaguely sketch where the shapes would be. Actually, the more I look at her original drawing, the more I'm seeing it looks like she is not a human, but a mermaid, maybe on land, and maybe her bubble is full of water. I did not leave enough room for her hair to float around in that bubble. Let me try that again. Not sure what the original story was supposed to be here, but I'm really inspired by these glowing fish that seem to whiz by here, and I'm not sure if they're whizzing by underwater or if she's out of water and they're like spirit guide fish. But either way, I think what I'm going to be doing with this character is I'm going to pretend that she's been thrown into this new environment, this new situation. Maybe she's somewhere now that she's not used to, she's not supposed to be here, and she's terrified, she's scared. So she's crying, and she doesn't know what to do about it. You know, she's used to being in the middle of the sea. Now all of a sudden she's got these legs, she's like, I don't know where I am, I don't know what I'm doing, this is overwhelming, what do I do? And then she sees her little fish spirit guides. So for a moment she stops crying and she tries to reach out to them. I'm probably going to reference my own hand a little bit to draw that, but I'll do that like right here. Like her hand will be right there. So I think I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do to put my own twist on this story. I did visit the Baltimore Aquarium, and I was very inspired by this picture that I took of jellyfish. And so in this drawing, since she's supposed to be surrounded by luminous fish, I'm just going to change it into jellyfish, because why not? I'm thinking about using some Bombay inks, which are extremely vibrant and extremely dark. I'm going to be relying a lot on high contrast for this drawing. There's going to be a lot of glowing in the dark. And since I plan on using such dark art materials, it's probably a good idea for me to break out my masking fluid now. And if it's a little bit shaky, that's fine, because jellyfish are very wobbly creatures, right? Oh, that's gonna be so cool! Alright, I got some inks here. Alright, I'm gonna wet my background area first. Now let's get that color put in there. It's gonna be super pigmented on the ends. Oh. Wow. That is the coolest freaking thing. Alright, I'm gonna water that down because it's super dark. I think I want some more of that blue and green now. So we want this to look like it's deep in the sea. I'll tell you what though, it's a great way to get a large amount of space done in a little bit of time. I picked these two colors out for her blouse. I think it's interesting that she's mostly made up of warm colors. I like it especially because it's contrasting the cold environment she's been thrust into. Now I'm going to use a darker color. And you can see that I've really paid attention to which way I was letting my brush strokes go. This vertical up and down is intentional because it kind of gives you a sense of what the material is made out of. Some sort of flowy fabric. Alright, I'm just taking a brown marker to go even deeper with these shadows. I'm starting on the skin color now. I'm going to try to keep in mind that the main light source is coming from this largest jellyfish up at the top right. I'm trying to trust the process because I know most of this is going to be coming together at the end. I'm also trying not to make too much of a mess. I'm excited to do things like her eyeshadow and her tears. I think it'd be fun to use a blue color as a shadow. I think it's a little bit more dramatic that way. Put that right where the nostril is. Again, I'm just considering that this right here would be my main light source. I picked two colors for the hair. They're both brown. Alright, that pretty much does it for the lighter brown. Every hair is coming right out of her skull. Beautiful. There's actually something really calming about this. Who needs Xanax when you got a couple of markers? That's not good advice. I have a tip for you guys. It's really easy to get discouraged when things aren't looking exactly the way you play them in your head. It's really easy to want to give up right away when things aren't just that kind of perfect you were expecting. But my tip for you is trust the process. So I think most of the time, it's going to look so much better when you put those finishing details on. So just because it's not exactly the way you want it to look right now doesn't mean that it won't be later. I plan on doing something a little bit neat here. Since this is a mermaid after all, I thought it would be fun to turn her ears into fins. So that's what I'm going to do. I have not forgotten about the little scales on the sides of her cheeks. I plan to do those in gel pen. Is that cool? Because now I think I gotta bring that blue down here too, huh? I'm really excited to draw her nails, so I'm gonna do that now. I really like how the lining on those hands looked, so I'm gonna do something similar with her outfit here. Let's line some of that hair. I lined a bunch more things. Now I'm going to darken up the whites of her eyes. Drag some of that gray down. Looks good. Let's give it a darker blue rim. I'm also going to put the little glitter eyeshadow using a lot of the same color that we used for her shirt. And then we can add some gel pen to make that glitter even more later. So her lips aren't exactly black in the original drawing. They're kind of this deep, dark red. So maybe I should continue with that. Ooh, that looks good. Now should we peel these tears off? Wow. I'm excited to do some of my favorite parts, some details on these eyes. You can see that our girl here is almost done. I just had a lot of fun with glitter, and these tears look so good. I'm gonna start putting in some scales, and I have a plan of how I'm gonna do that. So So I used a dark purple to kind of outline where those scales were going to go, but now I'm going to use a kind of pastel-y light purple with the gel pen kind of in between those, and you'll see when this dries it's going to lighten up. Her scales are dry, and I'm going to add like little white specks of glitter. I'm having even more technical issues, so I'm just gonna have to finish up the last details and come back to you in a second. I put on my finishing touches, and now all that's left to do is sign it. Let me know how you guys think she turned out. Oh my gosh, I just finished up my second Draw This in Your Style challenge. This took me overall about a day and a half of fully doing nothing but drawing. So again, there's my first one, and there's my second one. Make sure to follow these artists on Instagram. I'll once again encourage you guys to do your own Draw This in Your Style challenges, or just go on Instagram and find some inspiration from very talented artists. A couple things I really like about doing a Draw This in Your Style challenge is you have to adapt to things you wouldn't normally do on your own, and you have an appreciation for other artists, and potentially the ability to gain new skills that they already have. You guys can feel free to look at my art on my Instagram, @JordanZ Gallery, and redraw any of the drawings that I've done in your style. If you do, make sure to tag me. Always give the artist that you're recreating credit where credit's due. Okay, after this long day, I'm happy to say we're golden. Bye, guys. Oh, Jesus.